if you wanna do something this year, it was discussed at one point in time, of maybe going to 8 as soon as possible, and then 12, January 1. Or you could just go straight to 12. or you
Everybody
could wait till
was
Where are we
January.
at now?
You wanna know what Mike said, just tell me, if you're gonna do it, just do it.
Do it, that's
Yeah.
what I've heard too.
That's what everybody said.
Quit messing around, quit trying to candy code it, if you're gonna go to 12, go to 12, let's go with it.
Okay.
I've been told by so many people.
There will be no more pain. There'll be more pain for doing it.
I just took a little bit of a survey myself, on, you know, I probably asked 50 or 60 people just. They don't wanna take it. No, I mean, it's expensive to go to the land.
Oh, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
at your curb, I mean, what else you gonna do?
In other words, if you take a bag to the landfill right now, I believe it's $2 a bag.
What's, where would that set us in reference to other?
I did not bring that, I passed that out, it's in your bag, it's in your council packet from last month. I was able to get a hold of about 50 communities.
See, she probably didn't get it, cause you handed it out at the meeting, didn't you? Or was it in the packet?
It was in the
It's in
packet,
the
I-
Dropbox, but
Okay.
it's probably still on my phone. No,
Yes.
It's still my.
And if you need it, Diana, I can email it to you again.
It's probably.
I would say probably the average from the communities I talked to is probably closer to $17,
Well, we
18.
still.
I know if you contract here in the county,
Yeah.
cheapest.
30 communities, you probably did, 30,
Pardon?
you probably did 30 different places.
51. I got 51 I got a hold of 51 communities. And a lot of them decided to contract trash several years ago, and they reduced their staff. They went out and they contracted it. They got contracts coming due now, and a lot of them are panicking because they're gonna go to $18, $19, $20.
Like I said, county's 19,
Is it?
what Chuck's paying out.
That's private.
Yes. So if we could get by with 12 and make it work,
Still.
I think it's still a bargain.
And that includes yard waste every week,
Heavy
and
trash.
heavy trash twice a year.
Which
Yeah.
a lot of these communities didn't do heavy trash.
And
Earlier to pay extra, they
And-
didn't pay extra and drove it on.
Yeah, and Mark brought up the point about people that have second toters, right? So if somebody has 2 trash cans, it's really not probably equitable, at least in our opinion, to charge them the full rate because the truck's already there, the van's already there, they don't get 4 weeks of heavy trash, they don't get 104 weeks of yard waste. So you had calculated a $5.
I went through and I took my number of toters per day by my labor cost. I took the labor cost, the landfill cost, and worked it out, and it's about $4.84 a week to empty that second toter when it's sitting there,
A week.
or a month. It's $1.21 a week for the landfill, the labor cost. So I figured $5 for the second one would cover that one. And there's not a huge volume of them. Donna ran the numbers for me. I believe we have 76 households that have the second trash can.
You know, for $5, you'll have 76 less households, and just stuff it all in
The lid's gotta close.
Yeah.
otherwise
Yeah,
they'll pick it
I
up.
was gonna say, the thing is, Kevin, most of them got tired of getting tagged. They bought the second toter, they made the initial purchase. They're gonna continue to pay the $5 for the second one because they need it. I have one household that has 3 on a weekly basis.
for. Do what?
I have somebody that fills 3 of them a week. They have bought 2 additional ones.
Have they heard of recycling?
So that, I mean, kind of get us back on track here because we're doing pretty well on time.
Yes.
That whole conversation that we just had is helpful to accomplishing these goals and substantially balancing this over here. So if we want to run those numbers, these gentlemen down here can help us with that. But it's also a little bit of a cat and mouse game because we have to be careful that we don't spend more than we have in January because we collect that monthly, right? It's not $500,000 in January.
Be sweet.
That'd be
Well,
handy, right?
It would be sweet. It would be nice if we could get it November 1, so we'd have a couple months revenue in January, and then we could go back to an additional and try to free up your money for your general fund. So what you're concerned about, everybody overspending or spending it all, doesn't happen. Because we would have some of that cash reserve.
To do it prior to the first of the year.
Yeah.
Do it as soon as possible.
And then a year from now, we would change it permanently, reduce the general fund budget, buy as much as we can, put it towards the trash tipping fees, and then you could allocate some funds towards your MVH, which would be the ultimate goal.
Okay. Any other questions for Mark on that? Up next is the vehicle MVH restricted, that strictly goes towards, capital projects, pavement mostly, right? Oh, he's gone, okay.
Yes.
Right, Ron, answer. Sarah, do you want to talk, do you have any questions on the building fund? We talked about that last year, about how having money set aside to buy condemned or condemned properties, how they're torn down, whatever that looks like, that's what that fund is for.
We'd have more money if we were finding these people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I'm pretty asinine about it.
Well,
Just have to go.
but you mean as far as the monies that are in there, the building demo? Is that what you're asking about?
I think that's what yeah, I mean, unless there's any questions, Viana's comment is if we were finding more people or going through this more robustly, we could generate some potential revenue. It's not a lot to do that. And I know Sarah and Steve, and every day I walk in, or every other day I walk in and I say, hey Sarah, I was out walking last night, will you look at this? And then she says, yeah, and a sigh. So, we've been working on it, it's a process.
Most of them will pay.
Yeah,
Huh?
but
None of them, most of them will pay. It ends up being taxed on your lawyer involved. They don't know when they come in and pay the fines.
and I'm okay with that. We've talked about that, let's start sending condemnation letters, let's start turning them over, let's get after it. So, it'll just take a little bit, it's a bit of a process. Now, what the revenue stream from that looks like, I don't know, but.
Too many
Well,
times.
I mean, there's,
It's the problem that needs to be fixed. It's not, if you're saying that them being fined is not gonna fix the problem, then we need to do something else. But the problem needs to be fixed. There's too many.
but there's a lot of criteria, I mean, there's criteria that it has to meet, and a lot of times if you tell people, okay, we're looking at, condemning your home, blah, 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 unless X, X, and X are fixed, well, a lot of times they'll fix those things.
But then that's the end of it.
But then that's the end of it, and then, I mean, I get it, I understand.
Well, I mean, that's, we have guidelines, right? They're supposed to be, if they fix what needs to be fixed, then they're within the guidelines. But there are people not fixing what needs to be fixed either. So,
We still have to go through the notice process, we're working on it, but I think if you have something in mind, send it to
Yes.
Sarah or
I have several times, it's not been taken.
It hasn't?
No,
That one window,
yeah, the
we
window
drove by
is,
there and it looked like it was fixed.
no, it's wide open, I can throw rocks in it,
Okay. Not a
or
problem.
cats, or
You can
coons,
throw
or
cats out.
whatever.
Throw cats that far?
Yeah, we both looked at it and
Hey,
it was
I
like,
think this is a conversation going the wrong direction.
our bad. No,
Repeat it.
I'll make note of
Should
that.
make note of that.
The address.
Gerald's.
Anything on fire contribution, hazmat? Page 11. Questions on those?
So that you're saying the new line item for the strategic plan,
Which one? Oh, okay, well, page 12.
is that where we're at? Am I
Yep.
on the wrong page?
That's fine, everybody's still with page 11, we're on page 12. Nate, you wanna talk about your 5-year plan?
Yeah, so, basically the largest addition to that is the 5-year strategic plan creation. It would go out to bid, there's multiple companies that do this, so we could we'll definitely go with low value. In my past experience though, it's been around anywhere from, I'm around 16 to 25,000, so I put in 18,000 in there, and that 5-year strategic plan then will help guide the fire department along with the city, if the city does a comprehensive plan at the same time. Kind of mold those together and give us an idea of where we need to go. I've been able to turn a lot of things around in 6 months, but now we need to start looking long-term at what we're gonna do. Are we gonna look at potentially rebuilding a station or remodeling a station? And what this community strategic plan does is it's all community-based, so it's done in 3 parts. It's done with the internal stakeholders, which are the members of the fire department, and it's done with the external stakeholders, which are the politicians and the governing body, and then it's also done with the citizens. So you take around 45 to 20 to 45 citizens, you basically bring them in and they facilitate a meeting of what the public thinks of their fire department, and what is the priorities of the public for the fire department. And then that information is brought back to us in the fire department, and then we look and say, okay, what kind of strategic priorities can we do with this? So basically what we're getting out of it is what our community wants. It's all based on what the community's needs are and what the community wants. And then that allows myself and our assistant chiefs then to take that roadmap and figure out what we can do and what we can't do and what we have to ask for, and kind of give us an idea of where we're going. And that's a good, there's, you do them for 5 years and you end up with anywhere from 3 to around 10 objectives and goals for the fire department to make that better. And it could be anything from infrastructure and working with the water, to replace hydrants, to things internally. We have trucks to be replaced and an apparatus maintenance or an apparatus replacement schedule, looking at doing that. So it solidifies all that, but the key portion of this is that you get the community in one room and they get to tell you about their fire department. They tell you what they like, what they don't like, and where they see the fire department going. So when we come to budget hearings, when we come to ask for additional appropriations, what I'm doing is I'm speaking for the community at that point. I'm not just coming up with this because, oh, this sounds like a good idea to the fire chief. This is what the community wants. Here's what we have. Here's the list of things that they said, and they put this all into a document, both electronic and printed document that's then available for everybody. And it really kind of just guides us where we're going with the community at heart and the community in mind, and that's what's most important. So I'd like to get that started to give the fire department some direction. So many guys come and tell me and said that they've had no direction, they don't know where they're going. And this basically will solve that problem.
Well, chance of being sorry, that lack of, that's probably more reflective of the leadership they've had in the past versus a plan. I don't think it's $18,000 for me to spend right now.
I can see the benefits, but like I said, 18,000,
If it's any, while you mull it over, the second page is, so this is the local tax for public safety tax. This page is fire, the next page is police. Any questions on that one?
The city computer server for roughly 31,000.
That's what Josh Tressler came to talk
Part of
to
the
you about.
infrastructure plan.
Correct, chiefs?
Yes. The, on the lit fire, the 911 IT services, that's his, part of the city's portion of his thing.
Josh Tressler.
Chief Bridges and I he took the servers, I took the payroll, that was the only difference. Otherwise, it would have been 15 for me and 15 from him, and then 33 for me and 33 from him. So it's coming out of the same public safety tax. That's how it's split.
There's more I stand on 5-year plan creation.
Anybody else have an opinion on that as far as removal of tweaks or?
But that is coming out of the public safety and not basically engineering.
Correct.
And my opinion, that's what that money's to be used for, stuff like that.
It is operating at a surplus next year, including a return.
I do agree with you, Kevin, on the leadership part, that plays a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early.
We've already seen improvement.
Yeah.
We had a long conversation at the Board of Works about job descriptions and, you know, building the next generation of local leaders. And maybe something like this, a plan that kind of they can invest in as well, could help with that. You know, Nathan had laid out some plans that the board, or some requirements the Board of Works wasn't very comfortable with maybe, but they wanted to know about local education, and we didn't have anyone who met those standards. Not that this is an education plan, but it could be part of that too, to help
It can help
build.
lay that out to build a professional development plan on top of what I've already built myself.
Is anybody else adamantly opposed or want to leave it for now?
When you take it out, that fund's no longer in a deficit, it's in a surplus. Next year, you're not gonna get hit with all the IT stuff.
That fund is a surplus. It's a little bit up in the page, it's a 35,000 surplus.
Well, 13.
And we will be hit with the
Oh,
IT stuff, Kevin,
You're
for
gonna
next.
continue on to 14?
Continues on 14. Because it adds in police.
Just the other one.
My bad.
And Kevin, just so you know, we will be hit with IT for the next 3
Here's
years.
some of that.
Yeah, those are only annual payments.
And see that stop. At least that's done, is that 3-year payment plan on it?
I'm sorry.
Is that just click with, remember we did the 3-year payment plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just put that up on that else. So you guys can now vote for it.
I'm sorry.
I'm still a remove, so it falls to.
I'm going with Kevin on removing it.
Okay. Go ahead, Rick.
Like I said, I would leave it because of the fund it's coming out of. If it was coming out of general, then I'd have a little bit of a problem. This public safety money, that's what it's used for, so.
I don't know, I just feel like there's other
That's-
safety things that we could use.
Okay. Maybe we revisit it in a year,
Yep.
see what that looks like. Okay. Jerry, will you please make that note? Okay. We've already spent a decent amount of time talking about trash. Anything else, Mark? Nope. Nope. Anything else for anybody? Page 14, we've got law enforcement training at the top, no changes there. And we have the Honda Fire Fund.
To address the Honda Fire Fund, that $3,000, it's been there for quite some time. And I was wanting to see if we could raise that to $4,000 for the, clerk's office administration.
It's
That-
there, Brenda, it's just under clerk fee, it's under a different line item.
Okay, I see it as
If you
3,
look-
but I didn't see
Okay,
it
so look below it.
here.
If you look below it, it says clerk fee, I don't know why.
Thank you, okay, thank you. I have no,
Jerry, can we just combine those?
Yeah, sorry, my computer is not responding now. I don't know what was it on, I apologize.
Sorry. Page 14, the two clerk office admin lines just need to be combined into one for a total of 4,000.
thank you, Nathan.
This is paid for out of our contract with Honda to provide 24/7 fire protection to them. Any other questions on that? We have our bond payments just on different loans that are still outstanding. The CCIF repairs is a fund that you all have historically appropriated 40,000 out of. It typically goes to mildly random things that pop up throughout the years and already appropriated. It's very flexible. It's paid for in cigarette tax mostly. That the state collects and gives to us, hence the $25,000 distribution. So there's that. And then we have our cumulative fire fund. You all have bought the radios this year, so that's why that line item is 0. Any other questions on that?
Question on the truck, Kevin?
Places are being sold out there.
No, we are actually going to just be buying an aluminum style, utility rescue body that is a complete walk around. To take one of our existing pickup trucks and make it that. It's either that or,
Something bad off it.
yeah, pickup truck, yeah. It's either that or replace a $600,000 rescue truck.
I like 48 grand.
Just making sure we're on the same page.
Up next, we have CUME-CAP Development. This is a fund that sort of just generates some revenue each year that we use for specific projects. Of course, we have Pirate Park, soccer complex, community green space that we're still constructing out on the east side of town. Ron and I have been in continual communications about that structure, what it looks like. We've got an architect on it working with us. We've met with some builders, different pieces like that. That's what that is.
Which one are you talking about?
The CUME-CAP Development, the bottom section here on page 15.
What project are you talking about?
Pirate Park build out.
What kind of structure is gonna be built out there?
We're discussing, so it's a storage facility for soccer equipment, a concession stand, men and women's bathrooms, and sort of a referee's room, if you will. It's just a big closet. We've been in discussion with the soccer club that is in town and their desire to host soccer tournaments beyond their practice and their different games and pieces like that. They're asking that we build it for up to 800 people. They expect their soccer tournaments to run between 400 and 800 people. The only thing that matters is we scale the bathrooms to what Indiana code recommends the fixture number be. What the structure will be is we are looking for a metal building that is appealing to the eye and not a tool shed. Cost effective, we can get the square footage we need. We do intend to build the restrooms and concession stands to jail standards as far as durability. We don't intend to heat it, we intend to winterize it, and then work out some type of agreement, probably with the soccer club, on what the concession stand looks like. Ron and I's sole goal on all of this is for it to be incredibly low maintenance and that they sort of take care of it, but it will always be our property, and that we can use it for other things if we need necessary.
About half of it would be a blunt construction, and then the other half would be one of the better descriptor pole barn. But as you said,
Just have a conversation with people who've been involved with GYBL, Decatur County Girls Softball Associations, on some of the downfalls of that main building out there. Is it, I mean, they had a grand plan when they did it, but paying on those boards for 5 years. There's some pitfalls to how that thing was designed. It could have been so much better for the people working it and for the people attending events.
Yeah, and that's fair. I was trying to think, we did have I've had a conversation with some of them, or been at the meeting that they had at the courthouse about what the problems were out there with tourism, different pieces. So we've been, I won't sit here and claim that we've been in contact with them, because we haven't, but it's a much simpler design too. It's pretty much just a 2 front window concession area.
No
that's-
real cooking,
no-
anticipated microwave kind of stuff, or maybe a hot dog roll.
Just space and how things were laid out. you know.
We were sort of deferring to the soccer club on that as well, to sort of say, we'll give you this many square feet, how do you want it, where do you want the counters?
It was in the concession area that there were concerns.
Yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
very fair.
And then we've set aside $100,000 for CCMG money in here as well. It does take that fund into the negative. To me, getting the Pirate Park building done is priority number 1, so this CCMG money is if the building would come in less than this, or if something else happens. But it's just in there so that it's in there. Any other questions? Fire pension, maybe this is a Nate question, maybe this is a Brenda question. Do we know why this is negative? Or maybe this is a Jerry or Gabe question. Are these funds not reimbursed by the state?
I believe the post-employment benefits would not be.
Okay,
That's my understanding.
Don't believe that they are. I believe that is encumbered by the city.
And I think that's part of the reason, if you look in 2019 there, the $61,478, that wouldn't have been reimbursed, and I believe, which I can go and look, there was a deficit last year, and I would say that that's the reason why. Also with police, I know there was a big chunk in there.
So just out of curiosity and looking at this even further now, I don't know why the death benefit was removed. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm thinking that was an error. But then if you look, there was 24,000 put back into PERF. Was that put there on purpose, or was that supposed to actually go into, was that a line item issue that was supposed to go into? It still equals, it's still equal, actually, no, it doesn't equal out. It would save $24,000, I believe.
Yeah, that very well may have
Do
been
you
the
follow
case.
me there?
Yes, as far as the 2021 department budget column, instead of that 24 grand being in PERF, would have been the death
Right, it
benefits.
should have been in death benefits, and I
Yeah.
spoke with Josh and had him add it back, and I'm like, I can't take the death benefit away, obviously, that doesn't work. But I'm wondering if it was a line item issue and just didn't get transposed correctly.
Yeah, definitely, I mean, we can,
Brian Winning is your
Pension secretary.
You want to check with him?
It was correct, 24,000 in that, I've looked at his Form 1 that he submitted. This-
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
so you got to carry 2 death benefits.
we have to carry the 24,000.
Right.
Yes.
Equivalent to 2 million.
Right. Right.
So can we remove the one?
So then, it looks like we can remove the $24,000 from PERF,
Okay,
and then we can just have that strategic plan back on there, because I just saved Kevin some money.
Discussion for next year.
do you want to check with Brian on that to make sure first? And then if so,
Yeah, I will, but I believe that that's, looking at his Form 1s that he submitted, that was the way it was.
so let's go ahead and remove that if you don't
Okay.
mind. Any other questions on there? That's a red box eliminated. Thank you. Anything for the police pension? Okay, up next we have edits. Historically, you all have sort of appropriated just a chunk of money, and then it was sort of up to the discretion of the mayor about where it goes. I'm great with that, but I also kind of think you should know a little bit about where it goes. So what we've laid out, we've got other services, and charges, which probably need to change a little bit because I forgot about this pays for Economic Development Corp. It pays for Main Street. It pays for some other things. So that would be why, like the Learning Center comes out of here, some just random things. So we probably need to move that closer to 150 there at the top. And then we've also, like I mentioned earlier, if we get the opportunity to go abroad on an economic development trip, that's in there. And then other, we sort of use for other, thanks Ron. Yeah, I think we probably still need another 50. Jerry, can you add that please to the top, to others?
Other services and charges.
339.
And we could probably, because I like to simplify things, if we could probably move other up there too, so that would become a whole line item of 250. It would be like it was last year.
Okay.
It was Ron and I's intentions to approach you at August's meeting for an additional appropriation to replace Ron's vehicle. But with the First Street money going out, I didn't think that you would probably like that. So what I've done is I've put it in here for next year. Now, if you want to buy us one this year, we'd be glad to take you up on that. But we've also doing something a little bit different in the sense that Sarah doesn't have a city car, I don't have a city car, Ron doesn't have a city car, and then that leaves Donna as the only other department head that doesn't. Ron doesn't live in Decatur County, Sarah and I live across town, so it probably doesn't make sense for all of us to have city vehicles. So we would like to purchase one, and that's what this money's for, that's a little bit nicer, that we will use as a city hall car. And then any department, if they wanted to go to a conference or something, could take it as well. So it would be a little bit more of a communal vehicle.
60 grand, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Well, a little more
Well,
dependable and.
A little more dependable.
I can vouch that Ron was crushed.
Yeah. But seriously, for that money, you can buy 2 very nice cars for the discount the city gets.
Well, and that was the part, we were operating off of sort of standard numbers because we hadn't gone through the whole request yet. And I definitely don't think it'd be this high. Since you're the Chevy dealer, probably looking at the Traverse or Ford Explorer in that.
Under 30.
Well, great, we'll buy 2 of them. Sign us up.
Just lower that line item to 30,000.
You're gonna, well, maybe we'll go get a Mercedes.
That'll get them talking.
Right?
Yeah,
Hell.
make sure you get fancy wheels
Hell.
out too.
The license plate will see.
The problem is-
Holding.
Deed polling.
That's what the license plate will say.
Daryl, I've heard him earlier, you don't have any new vehicles on the lot, what are they gonna sell us? A bicycle?
Or 30K.
Now bicycle's probably not a bad idea.
4-wheel bicycle.
Not for this old man.
It's not how he drives the car. It's
The
not
work comp would go
concerned.
through the roof.
We'll get you a 3-wheeler.
So again, one of those items, we don't do it,
I got a
or
Uno
don't spend
motor.
it.
We could convert.
Or if you guys want us to, if you want one this year, we can bring you, we'd have to find some place for it to go. We'd rather have sooner rather than later.
You're
But,
close enough to 21.
okay. The sidewalk connector project, principal engineering, or pre-engineering, that's, Mark, that was from you, that's, Central Street.
Yeah, Central Street from the junior high to the high school. We went for a federal aid project for reconstructing the sidewalks from the northeast corner of the junior high, all the way up Central Avenue to the high school,
Past the high school.
and then past the high school to connect the walking trail. With the new bridge replacement the county's doing on Central Avenue, that would tie almost all new sidewalks in with Lincoln Street, new sidewalks where you see a lot of pedestrian traffic, and hook it to the trail on the west, east side of town.
So is that what the line item down below 75,000 is?
Yeah, so
Yes.
if they get to bid at the end of 2021, we have to have that money up front, and this is our matching portion. they may not get there by the end of 2021.
If it would be a December levy, we probably wouldn't have to have
So
cash
sidewalks
until
will cost double
following
that.
January.
roughly.
Oh, it's gonna cost more than that because we only have to put up 20%.
Maybe more in this case because how it got funded, but
We're still hoping for additional money.
Yeah.
I always keep hoping it will well.
So the 28 grants for design or?
That's designed 20%, yes.
Part of the state project. Yeah. And if they don't get to it in 21, it's also, there's a part of a sidewalk project to help us improve sidewalks across the community for 22, 23 going forward. So it's sort of just the initial one of those is for that project if it becomes available.
which is gonna be a little tricky because we need to have that program up and running earlier in the year before we know what we need it.
Right. Any other questions on that? On the rest of here, you've got TIF items that are kind of their thing. You've got the riverboat again, we know about that, we just appropriate a set amount of money. Less than comes in every year, we return a lot of it each year. Anything else on that? And the last page brings us to the airport. You all may recall they didn't used to submit their budget to you per se, but with us backing the bond for them out there, that sort of become practice now. So there it is. I guess technically you still do appropriate their money, but they are self-sustaining. So. Any other questions? Jerry, anything on your end that?
No, like I mentioned, earlier, we'll get those salary updates in there, and we make sure everything's lined up there. And at that point, I can send out a revised version, for everybody to take a look at that. And then in the meantime, if any decisions are made on some of these items to review, you can let us know, and we'll get that updated and sent out as well.
Okay.
Need to schedule around 2.
That's all up to you. I mean, if you wanna take this home, you know, look at it again, you wanna do this meeting again, you can do it at the council meeting.
It would have to be a lengthy meeting, but just to look at the new set of numbers might be a good idea.
Okay.
Agree?
I agree.
So,
Do we,
and I prefer not to do it at the council meeting, so we just focus on one thing.
Right.
So,
we need,
when
So-
does it have to be submitted? Budget?
Based off of, the timeline we currently have, and I believe you guys received it the last meeting that we were at. We're showing the public hearing being September 8th, so it has to at least be posted, submitted in Gateway 10 days prior. So we're showing, posting that Form 3 to notice to taxpayers about the meeting, August 25th. Then we would need a little bit of time, obviously, before that to get all the forms prepared and in the Gateway system.
August 10th.
That's why I was looking at all this, it just depends on how long it's gonna take you to get all the numbers back in.
I intend to be out of town that week. I don't know whether that'll actually happen or not, and I won't be back till the night of the 17th. We can either do it the first week of August, I guess if we go towards the end, that's enough time to do the 2 weeks of notice for the meeting.
I'm going the 15th to the 22nd.
Piece as well.
Same week. You're going?
Nope, I'm going the week before.
Florida, because
Well, and that's where I'm going to, so if we could do maybe like the 6th, can people do a Thursday night? That would be after our next city council meeting, we can have numbers for trash by then to them, and we can
I've been there.
Okay.
Six?
Oh, I have to miss golf league, that's fine, I don't care, I suck, so it doesn't.
Same thing your teammates say.
How is your game?
They'll probably be
Mark
glad.
tells me every day, you're getting better. Art Turner's one of my partners,
6
you're
o'clock.
getting better.
You're getting
He
better.
doesn't tell you you're good yet, though, does he?
That's code for,
I'm
What
horrendous.
day?
Thursday, August 6th, 6 p.m. here. And then by then, we will have the conversation at council meeting about the trash fee. We will update, you guys wanna do 1.5 on the salary, or do you wanna go to 2? Before they spend a lot of time.
Uncertain times.
1.5 on salary.
That was a $500. What was the $500
No, that's off the table.
That's off the table.
What's that?
And then we will go through and tweak the changes, the removals that you all have made. And then, would you like all of these folks to come back? Okay. Do you guys need anything else from us at this moment?
That old brown board.
Council, anything else?
I'm hurting today.
We're still
I
gonna
don't know how the hell I survived all day Thursday, all day yesterday, out in the heat, but I
All those in
did.
favor? Thank you, everybody.
But I survived it.